Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And today we're going to be talking about authoritarianism, which you can find worldwide. There are more dictators, imperial people, and other ilk who believe, an oligarch, for example, that they have the right to rule until the day they die, and then somebody else from their family can take over. And perhaps you know a country like that, and maybe you don't. But I thought because of what's going on all over the world now, and indications that it may even happen in the United States, I thought that I would provide to you the 15-step guide to surviving authoritarianism. And this story has been written by several different people. One was by Bill Moyers, but on this particular one, Donald T. Sapolnik, that's Saposnek, wrote this on November 9th of 2024. And this is pretty much what he had to say. And we will also give you the survival steps, not all of them, but enough to give you a heads up of what you need to do because you are a normal person. And not all governments that come into play really think about the peon, because without you, they won't get anywhere. They need you, whether it's a warm body or your money or your children, who they can turn against you. So, this is something you need to know today and put it away for a rainy day if it should come to pass. Increasingly, a necessity. A 15-point guide to survival authoritarianism offers a guide to recognize and resist authoritarian tendency in a society. The authors, Callie Holloway and Martin Maselsky, drew upon Maselsky's experience in Poland, where the rise of authoritarianism has been observed firsthand, to provide a warning about the tactics and methods of such regimes. The 15 points lay out specific ways in which authoritarians manipulate institutions and the public, that's you, to consolidate power and suppress dissent, including distorting the truth, inciting fear, controlling media, and undermining a democratic norm. The guide emphasizes critical thinking, resisting manipulation, and fighting for democratic values as crucial components of surviving an authoritarian regime. Now, this also appeared in Alternate, this post. And the gentleman goes on to say that nearly a year ago, it was recognized that Mr. Trump's administration's authoritarian aspiration. And so Polish journalist and activist Martin Majsalski wrote, Year One Under Authoritarianism. In those early nerve-wracking days following Mr. Trump's inauguration, the piece was shared across social media as anonymous portent of what was to come. The document, hopefully subtitled What to Expect, offered a list of predictions and warnings about Mr. Trump's first year in office and exhortations to fight back at every turn. In his introduction, published just days after the inauguration, Masowski noted the article was based on his own experience in Poland, where extreme right nationalists have taken over the government and in a recent ugly demonstration, the streets. The piece should be read as an instructive manual of sorts, culled from firsthand observation of the populist authoritarians and tin pot dictators leading right-wing movements across Europe. With each passing day, the Polish government moves the country further away from the liberal West and toward the authoritarian models of the East. Well, let's see. He's leaving NATO. He's taking the army or the military out of where we've been forever and repositioning them here in the States to use against his own people. He's left the World Health Organization, which will cripple Africa. And that's just from starts. He hasn't even gotten going yet. Hundreds of thousands have protested against every illiberal, unlawful step. Every time we believe it couldn't get any worse, we were wrong. When he pardoned all those people for January 6th, even the ones who were military-style nonconformists, and they enjoy killing and maiming and hurting people. And when a president tells you that these people would make good politicians and their jobs waiting for him and his government, does that remind you of the brown shirts? I mean, I was raised with World War II. I was born 4 years after the war ended, so I couldn't get away from it. But some of you younger kids may not remember a lot of these things. But if your parents or grandparents fought in World War II, then you got quite a briefing as to what happened, what transpired. So he goes on to say, this is why we want you, America friends, to be spared the shock, the awe, the disbelief of this happening to us. Let's hope history proves us wrong and the U.S. wakes up in time. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Well, I got to tell you, so far we're entering into the worst. People like to be taken care of. They don't like to have to think for themselves. They don't like the words responsibility or accountability. And if they can have somebody else dictate to them what they need and not do, they'll do it. Otherwise, why are cults so successful in getting all these people to come in and give up their wealth, their freedom, and then be turned on by people who become megalomaniacs? The Maletsky Survival Guide has already become more disturbing, relevant with time. Its predictions prove frighteningly accurate. Like Umberto Eco's Guide to Fascism, it precisely notes the actions and attitudes that are now unquestionably defining this presidency: the lies and obfuscation of truth, racist fear-mongering, historical revisionism, proposal of chaos, and anti-First Amendment agenda. Manipulation and malice are the Trump regime's forte. To see how quickly a country can be remade by a charlatan and his abettors, go back and review some of the earliest entries from Amy Senkein's weekly list tracking changes under Trump. It's all pretty scary, especially seeing it unfold in real time. But if there is any hope, it will only come from recognizing the reality of what's happening here. How much damage is being done? How much earth already scorched? The air somehow flown by, yet seemed interminable. It's good to remember the very big, very frightening picture before us, how far we've already come, and to consider what resources we have and recourses with complicit and corrupt forces standing in the way. Well, let me tell you something. He's going back to drilling because he believes that we have tons and tons of oil. No, we don't. A lot depends on the fossils of the animals that have gone extinct before we showed up. This planet is limited. It's not limitless. That's why the United States is what it is today, because the Europeans ran out of natural resources in their homeland and they came to the New World. Number two, he mentioned that Native Americans are not U.S. citizens and therefore their children are not birthright citizens. They were here first. What part of that sentence don't you understand? How dare he say something like that? Maybe he's prejudiced? Sounds like it. Okay, here's the first one. They will come to power with a campaign based on fear, scaremongering, and distorting the truth. Nevertheless, their victory will be achieved through a democratic electoral process. Remember, it only took Hitler 58 days to use the democratic system in Germany. But beware, as this will be their argument every time you question the legitimacy of their actions. They will claim a mandate from the people to change the system. Whose people? Their people or all of us? Remember, gaining power through a democratic system does not give them permission to cross legal boundaries and undermine said democracy. 2, they will divide and conquer. Their strength lies in unity, in one voice and one ideology, and so should yours. They will call their supporters patriots, the only true Americans. You will be labeled as traitors, enemies of the state, unpatriotic, the corrupt elite, the old regime trying to regain power. Their supporters will be the people, the sovereign who chooses their leaders. Don't let them divide you. Remember, you're one people, one nation with one common good. Side note, have you ever looked at some of the revolutionaries who tried to destroy governments like ours? What happens? They kill each other off. So there's only one king on that mountain at one time, not a group, just one. And there's no guarantee that that one will be there for a long time either. Just something for you to think about. Fight for every media outlet, every journalist that is being banned, censored, sacked, or labeled an enemy of the state. There's no hope for freedom where there's no free press. 4, they will create chaos, maintain a constant sense of conflict and danger. It will be their argument to enact new authoritarian laws, each one further limiting your freedoms and civil liberties. They will disguise them as being for your protection, for the good of the people. See through the chaos, the fake danger, expose it before you wake up in a totalitarian fascist state. 5, they will distort the truth, deny facts, and blatantly lie. Well, they already did that on this inaugural speech. They used AI and figured out that that guy couldn't tell the truth if he tried. It's too bad he's not Pinocchio and his nose doesn't grow long. They will try to make you forget what facts are, sedate your need to find the truth. They will feed post-truths and alternative facts, replace knowledge and logic with emotions and fiction. Always critically fact check and point out the truth. Fight ignorance with facts. Number 6, they will incite and then leak fake, superficial scandals. They will smear opposition with trivial accusations, blowing them out of proportion and then feeding the flame. This is just a smokescreen for the legal steps they will be taking toward totalitarianism. See through superficial topics in mainstream media and focus on what they're actually doing. 7, they will propose shocking laws to provoke your outrage. You will focus your efforts on fighting them, so they will seemingly back off, giving you a false sense of victory. In the meantime, they will push through less flashy legislation, slowly dismantling democracy. Focus your fight on what really matters. 8, when invading your liberal sensibilities, they will focus on what hurts the most: women and minorities. They will act as if democracy was a majority rule without respect for the minority. They will paint foreigners and immigrants as potential threats. Racial, religious, sexual, and other minorities will become enemies to the order and security they're supposedly providing. They will challenge women's social status, undermine gender equality, and interfere with reproductive rights. Yes, his administration has joined the Anti-Abortion League in Europe. What does that tell you? But it means they are aware of the threat of women and minorities posed to their rule, so make it your strength. Women and minorities should fight the hardest, reminding the majority what true democracy is about. Editor's note: this is a real moment where I believe Zelensky gets it wrong. People of color and women of all races are doing all they can. Existence in it itself is political, but many have already gone above and beyond, taking key roles in resisting. They cannot be expected to fight the hardest. We need the people with the most privilege to step up and use their powers for good. Celebrities, perhaps? 9. They will try to take control of the judiciary. They will assault your highest court. They need to remove the checks and balances to be able to push through unconstitutional legislation. Controlling the judiciary, they can also threaten anyone that defies them with prosecution, including the press. Preserve the independence of your courts at all costs. They are your safety valve, the safeguard of the rule of the law and democratic system. 10. They will try to limit freedom of assembly, calling it a necessity for your security. They will enact laws prioritizing state events and rallies or those of a certain type or ideology. If they can choose who can demonstrate legally, they have a legal basis to forcefully disperse or prosecute the rest. Oppose any legislation attempting to interfere with freedom of assembly for whatever reason. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the reasons why we fought the British back in 1776 and again for the War of 1812. How quickly you all forget your history. Number 11. They will distort the language, coin new terms and labels, repeat shocking phrases until you accept them as normal, and subconsciously associate them with whom they like. A thief, liar, or traitor will automatically mean the opposition, while a patriot or a true American will mean their followers. Their slogans will have double meaning, giving strength to their supporters and instilling angst in their opponents. Fight changes in language in the public sphere. Remind and preserve the true meaning of words. 12. They will take over your national symbols, associate them with their regime, remake them into attributes of their power. Hitler, Rome, there are a few others out there. Jimmy Jones. They want you to forget that your flag, your anthem, and your symbols belong to you, the people, to everyone equally. Don't let them be hijacked. Use and expose them in your fight much as they do. Show your national symbols with pride. Let them give you strength, not associate you with the tyranny they brought into your country. Join us next Friday and hear the remainder and what you as a private citizen can do to protect yourself and your family. Because I'm telling you right now, they will go after your children and turn them against you. That's what they do in cults. That's what they do in authoritarian governments. Thank you very much for joining us today on Lest We Forget Historical and the 15 Guide Steps to Live or Avoid Authoritarianism. Program is brought to you by The Obstacles of Podcasting. Get your training with a 19-year veteran, Lillian Cauldwell. Contact us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com or go over to educate.passionateworldtalkradio.com/masterclass and sign up. You won't regret it. Also by Ruby. Interested in artificial intelligence? Well, you should. It's your life, and it's how your life is going to be run from now on. Mr. Trump plus AI, quite a combination. So do yourself a favor, go over to http:// with Lillian, LILLIAN.com, and sign up for a monthly subscription. It'll be one of the better investments that you do in your entire life. And also with Vicki Chang, who can help you get your memoirs, your experiences, and what it was like in the kinder, gentle generation of the 20th century. Again, email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com. And if you want to see this video all over again, go over to Passion World talkradionetwork.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. You'll see State of Current Affairs. Click on it. It will take you to a page with a Google link. Click on the Google link, and it will take you into the belly of the beast, youtube.com, or go over to check out our good reading room, where we have put books in where authors have been interviewed on our station. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, come back next week and find out how you can prevent authoritarianism.